Hello and welcome to the Scotland Rugby News podcast with me, your host, Bruce Aitchison from Happy and Sexuate, and him, the editor, the man with the words, the one and the only Mr. Gavin Harper. Happy Friday, Gavin.
Happy Friday indeed. I think that's the first time you've ever called me Gavin, but happy Friday.
Well, I feel like we're getting serious now. Enough of this nonsense. It's time to be serious. I think it's Gavin.
That'll do. I mean, I've been called a lot worse. So, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm excited. It's Friday. I like Friday night games. I think it's a good feeling. It's that kind of end of the week. Let's have some fun, I hope. So I'm pleased. I'm looking forward to being at the Hive. We're getting a bit closer to Doddy Aid. We're getting a bit closer to Santa. Yeah. You? How's you?
Yeah, all good. All good like you. Looking forward to being at the Hive tonight. I think hopefully the rain that sort of seems to be threatening here stays away and we got a decent evening. It should be a good weekend of rugby, plenty on certainly. So yeah, another busy week for us. So yeah, but all good.
It's good, and it's a different weekend. Obviously, with Emerging Scotland that we'll talk about. But let's kick off tonight because Edinburgh are up first, and we know the team sheet. Edinburgh Bayonne, I have to admit, don't know much about them. Don't know too many of their players. We'll throw the stereotypical French thing, all of this, and away game and all that kind of stuff. But really, Edinburgh, I've got to take care of Edinburgh.
Yeah, I think that's it, and actually, you know, probably the player that everybody would have known and might have expected to play, given he's played, I think, almost every game for the last 7 or 8 games for Bayonne's Manu Tuolangi, but not involved tonight. I think probably suggests they're doing a wee bit better than maybe they would have expected in the top 14. So, it's a bit of a mix and match. Maxime Machinot's on the bench. Camille Lopez, the ex-France internationals, at 10. Look, I think they'll come and give it a go, but I think very much their priority, and actually the priority of both the French teams in Edinburgh's Challenge Cup pool, will be on the league, because Bayonne are probably doing better than they expected, and Van, who Edinburgh play in the new year, are rock bottom of the league, so they'll have other fights to concentrate on, I would think. But look, Edinburgh have brought back all their internationals. Luke Crosby's back as well. It's as strong as probably Sean Everett could go, and yeah, they've got to replicate that first half from the Benetton game, put that and some of the defensive stuff from Kingsholm together, and they should be okay.
Yeah, the weather's not going to impact the way it did against Benetton.
No, totally.
When you look at the team, you and I spoke about this earlier in the week, just the two of us, and we were saying this is probably who Edinburgh can pick because of unavailability and injury and various other things that are going on that I don't think either of us know the full extent of. But it's not far away. It's probably as physical a pack as we're going to get. It looks like Matt Curry, great news, signing his deal, keeping Curry in Edinburgh, which I'm chuffed about. It's probably the back line. I'm not sure there'd be too many changes. Boffelli's long term, so it's not worth saying you'd pick him at 15. That's probably not far away from a first choice back line.
Yeah, I think that's it. It's pretty solid, and it looks like, actually, I asked Sean this earlier in the week, that it looks like he's given Mosese, Matt Curry, and Ross Thompson the opportunity to go and kind of form a bit of a midfield partnership there. Look, it'll take these guys time to play, to kind of find out about playing together. I think that chopping and changing every week, as Glasgow have successfully managed to do, clearly doesn't work that well for Edinburgh. So I think, why not? These guys are available all year round. Stick them in and give them the opportunities that they probably need at the stages they're all at in their careers. The wingers pick themselves. And then Wes, yeah, I mean, you could make the case still for Boffelli, but it's definitely a reputational thing rather than on form, because Wes has bin pretty solid for Edinburgh. I think the debate might be about who plays at 9, but actually I think of the available options, Ali gives you more control, and if he was fit, Ben Velicott gives you more off the bench. But Charlie Shield did okay last week. So yeah, it's very much an unsurprising team. I think the pack's a big pack. Good that I think for Edinburgh that they've got somebody with a lot of experience in Sam Skinner to come off the bench.
I think that's an interesting one, that Marshall starts and Skinner's on the bench. Now, we don't know because we're not on the inside. I don't know if Sean said anything, but is Sam still on his way back? Is Marshall in front of him in the pecking order? Or is it that we can finish with a really experienced second row in the 80 minutes? Yeah. So there's variations there, but that one is the only selection that I maybe thought, oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Sean actually did, to be fair to him, say they're still trying to gauge where Sam's at and manage a sort of comeback from what was, I think, a reasonably significant operation on his knee. I don't think the injury was particularly significant, but I think the clear up probably was quite invasive. So I think they want to make sure that he's managed properly. So look, I would still imagine that if Edinburgh had a cup final to play, which they might do, next Sunday's probably as close to a cup final for Edinburgh at Hampden, I would be surprised if Sam's not back in again for that. But I think Marshall Sykes has also made a decent start to the season. Unsurprisingly, Paul Denton says it is a strong Edinburgh team. I think that's probably fair.
I tell you what, you just agree with Paul Denton. The man is extremely powerful. I'm pretty sure in his office at Scottish Building Society headquarters, there's a big button that only he's got the key to. So you always agree with Paul Denton. And I want to know how he's got time to be watching this when he should be looking after the world's money. So I'm glad he's watching though.
Exactly. Clearly that job has already taken care of itself by 5-1 on Friday. So yeah, good.
I'll get to see him tonight. There's a few bits in that Edinburgh team though. Front row picks itself. Marshall was spoken about. I'm delighted Luke Crosby's back. I think it's good timing, especially with 1872 coming up. Are Ross Thompson, Mosese and Matt Curry, are they in the Scotland rotation? Do they need to be given games off? No.
Not as far as I'm aware. No.
So they can play all the time?
Yeah, I think the guys, basically all the 7 guys, so Schumann, Ashman, Gilchrist, I'm testing myself now, Ritchie, Price, and the 2 wingers, I think, are all the Edinburgh guys who are covered by the international player protocol. Okay. So, and I think that helps. I think if you look at the guys who that leaves Edinburgh with available, you would be saying, right, okay, well, let's, like the centres, for example, let's make them a cornerstone of the team. And then we know we've got James Lang, Mark Bennett when he's fit, Matt Scott to kind of fall back on. But yeah, I think that's going to be the way Sean goes, to be honest.
There's boys on the bench I want to talk about. Charlie Shield. While I don't wish injury on Ben Velicott to give Chico a shot, I was delighted that he got the run at Kingsholm last week, and then he gets to back it up with being on the bench, and hopefully he gets some significant minutes. Sean has made subs at 9 with a fair chunk of time left to play, and it has largely been between Ali Price and Ben Velicott. So yeah, I hope Charlie gets the same shot. Ben Healy, he's not had a lot of time. Ross Thompson has played a lot, and then Ben's come on with not much. I'll be interested to see what he gets. James Lang, there's a lot for him. There's a lot of competition ahead of him. I hope he gets some time that he can have a crack. But the one I really want to talk about is Tom Dodd. A-team, back rower, lots of competition, but he's a player. Like Tom Dodd, he throws himself around. He's not particularly glamorous, but it's going to be interesting to see how he fares over the course of the season, because really he's probably in the 23 because there's others unavailable.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. There's obvious reading between the lines. There seems to be a situation where Hamish Watson is clearly out of favour, although Sean Everett was it kind of pains to suggest he's not. Freddie Douglas is unavailable now. We don't know what the extent of that ankle injury is.
Connor Boyle's cropped.
Yeah, Connor Boyle's done his knee. Ben Muncaster's ill. So when you take all them out, it is an opportunity for Tom Dodd. I actually thought he played pretty well in the A game, and he threw himself about last weekend. So again, if he gets 25 minutes to 30 minutes off the bench, I'm sure he'll make a bit of an impact. Also, we spoke about Liam McConnell before we came on air. Liam McConnell's captain of the emerging Scotland team. He might have had another opportunity, but I think it's good for him to go away and play that kind of under 23 game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's the obvious selection given everybody's available, but I think he also can add a fair amount off the bench.
Yeah, I'm keen to see him, and he's got a point to prove, and it might be that he can play beyond himself because he's got something to show. Emerging Scotland, let's touch on that because I'm conscious that the Glasgow team is about to come out, and I'm refreshing as we go here. But we've got the Emerging Scotland team, and you mentioned him already, Liam McConnell, captain, leadership. When I speak to boys that have trained with him and played with him, I know Liam's old man, but I don't really know Liam particularly well. I'm really chuffed he's getting a go. I think it's class, and he's getting the chance to back up performances, getting to play for Edinburgh last week, and then, right, Emerging Scotland captain, go for it. It's class, and it bodes well for the future.
It's great for him, and it's, I think, a big sort of tick against his name that clearly is seen as being able to lead that team, even though, there's somebody like a Rhys Tate in there who was a captain, who's a slightly older and has captained the 20s. So I'm actually just trying to find the team. I actually think it is a really good side. Look at somebody like Cammy Scott at 10, has played a lot for, or had games at Edinburgh, but could certainly do with making that next step.
Cammy is Cammy under 23? I thought he was 24.
Yeah, I think Cammy and Ollie Smith are the two 24-year-olds.
Cammy's emerging rather than under 23.
Yeah, I think that's why we're calling it Emerging Scotland and not Scotland under 23s. Because look, actually, David Nusafora and John Dale made the point this week that it can be a really useful sort of tool for players coming back from injury, as well as the kind of overage under 20s players who are not getting that regular game time at their clubs.
I really hope it works. Like, as people probably, if they're watching this, they probably know I try to be a glass half full kind of person, although I do dip out of that every now and then. But I really hope it works because these players that are selected need to play.
Yeah.
And how else are they going to get a chance without kind of made up things like this and A games? So, Cammy Scott also gets to be vice captain, which I think is class. You've got the Blythe Laffertys, which means their old man's going to be, Billy's going to be absolutely beyond himself. Tom Curry's mum and dad will be there. Rhys Tate's old man is bonkers. He's Mr. Hoyk. He'll be all over that, seeing his boy wearing a Scotland jersey again. Malky McVee's very proud of Ewan McVee. Rob Carmichael, what a muckle laddie that is. Yes, he's a big lad. So, and Harry Morris gets to go again. Mikey Jones. There's a lot of exciting players there. And Conor McAlpine gets a game for Edinburgh last week, and a bit like Liam McConnell, right? Now go again, but play for Scotland. It's class.
Yeah, and that's it. I'm becoming distracted by your dogs dancing in the which people will be able to hear in the background.
Boy.
I think it's a fair point. Like, you look at Mikey Jones on the bench for Edinburgh, Rob Carmichael played for Edinburgh, Liam McConnell, Conor McAlpine. but the most of the guys in the backs haven't had that great an opportunity. I think the one selection for me, I think that stands out, and I know he's on the bench, but Rudy Brown, I think, is somebody who was
he's back,
discarded by the Scottish system, and he's gone away. He's playing for Van.
He's frustrated. He's desperate for a shot, but obviously Van are under the pump. His old man will be chuffed because his old man's he loves his rugby and he's been very supportive of his boy. And going away to Van, an opportunity for him to go and see something, grow up a bit. But there's a bit of out of sight, out of mind. So he'll be absolutely desperate to have a crack at this.
Well, I think that's it. Like John Dale, speaking to him yesterday, said, look, Scotland aren't in a position where we're able to just discard players because they don't play for Edinburgh or Glasgow. Geordie Gwynn on the wings, playing for Ealing Trailfinders, and you look at somebody like Rudy, who's playing for Van's kind of under-23s, if you like. Why not? Why not get him into this environment, coached by Gregor and Steve Tandy and Pete Horn and John DL, and say, look, let's see how he goes. Let's see what we've learned about what we knew about him, what we now know about him, and how is his game changed? Has he changed as a person? Look, I think it's a great opportunity, and David Nusafora during the week kind of suggested that these emerging Scotland games or possibly tours might become more of a fixture. And I think you're right. Like if you're looking at it from a glass half full point of view, that this has to be the avenue, the vehicle through which some of these young guys get games.
Yeah, and also on the bench you got Nair Moncrief, Nathan Sweeney's hopefully on a bit of a comeback trail. I hope it goes smoothly for him. And then there's other names in there, really boys to stick their hand up. I'm a massive fan of Jerry Blythe-Lafferty. I think he's got heaps. And hooker, Dave Cherry is getting a bit older. Ewan Ashman's been around. Harry Morris is now sticking his hand up. You've got Blythe-Lafferty. Obviously, the Glasgow boys are going pretty well, and there's a bit of youth there, but they've been used, so they're not needed here because Glasgow have been able to utilise them. So there's strength and depth, and maybe boys are going to have to go away and have a chat to Rudy. What's it like at Van? What's it like at Ealing Trailfinders, Geordie? What's to go and get those experiences? I hope it goes well tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to be there, but I hope it goes well. And there's boys there, I hope, sort of come to the fore, and there's possibly guys in that squad who are going to stick their hand up, coming off the bench that make an impact, because there's some talent in there. Yeah,
you're 100% right. I think you look at like another guy, I don't know to pick out everybody in the squad, but Dan Halkin played for Glasgow A against Edinburgh, and I can't remember who the Edinburgh second rows were, but Shade Monroe after the game we were chatting to him, and he said, Dan Halkin's an 18-year-old, not used to running lineouts at that level. He did well in that game. Clearly, he's catching the eye of the right people. He's in this emerging team. You never know where a good showing tomorrow night could lead for some of these players. So now, look, I think it's a good thing. I think they've got the balance right. There's enough experience in the squad of guys who've played, pro rugby, and also obviously having Ollie Smith will certainly help. Great to see him back, and and a few young guys to put their hands up. So let's see how it goes.
Right, we've got the Glasgow team.
Yes.
And it's another sign of the depth that I think they've got when you can see the changes they've made, but they can still play a backline that's got Kyle Rowe, Stafford, Sione, Dobie's on the ding-a-ling again, Josh Mackay, come back, still going. And then, they've got Yoda and young Skywalker. They've got Ben Afshar at 9 and Yoda Dunky Weir at 10. The Jedi Master. Like, how old's Dunky Weir? He must be 60-odd.
Yeah, 32, is he?
Is that all he is?
It's incredible.
It feels like he's been forever.
I'm actually going to check because I'm. Yeah, he is definitely 33. Apologies, Duncan Weir's 33, but it definitely does feel like he's been around for a long time.
And you look at the Glasgow bench: Johnny Matthews, Rory Sutherland, Sander Fagerson, Scott Cummings, Matt Fagerson, Angus Fraser, George Horn, and Tom Jordan. Like you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You've got 7 of Glasgow's best players and probably 6 of Scotland's best players on the bench.
Bring on the bomb squad.
That is like George Horn. He's the best player in the world at the moment. Like, I don't know if you saw that. Somebody posted on, I can't remember which group it was, who's the best player in the world right now, and I just shared it straight away. George Horn, no question. There's not even an argument there. George Horn's the best player in the world at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, before people think that's, I'm not quite sure he's the best player in the world, but
come on.
He was pretty good last. That second try was sensational.
Just class. Do
you know what though? Actually, on a serious point, like if Antoine Dupont's or Bowden Barrett scores that try,
I said the same thing to you. I said that to you. I sent that to you. If anybody else scores that, it's unreal. George Horn.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
The only other player in the world that could do that is Jamie Dobie.
That's a big statement you've made.
That's not a big statement. It's a statement.
That is a big statement.
True. And I'm chuffed that you look at that squad and you've got Ben Afshar, Jamie Dobie, and George Horn in it. Like Franco, it's like he's playing some kind of card game, right? I'm going to collect all the 9s.
Yeah. Yeah. And conversely, you've got Gregor Hiddleston, Johnny Matthews, and Angus Fraser. So all the hookers.
It's like he's playing rummy. He's collecting all the 2s and all the 9s. Like it's just genius. I think it just shows so much faith in the players.
Yeah, it does, and it clearly is a reflection on how much he trusts these players. Because you look at it'd be easy, to say, right, we'll keep Henko Venter at number 8, but actually he's moved Henko Venter out of, moved him on the side of the scrum, brought Jack Mann in, who's been through a terrible time with injuries, but seems to, like, fingers crossed now, be sort of putting that behind him. But, to go to Toulon and say, right, we're going to have Jack Mann and Ben Afshar as our 8-9, we're relying on Duncan Weir there to bring a lot of experience. The second row is Alex Samuel and Jari Aganti-Beju, who's, between them have probably only played 20 Glasgow games. I was panicking a bit to get that right. But, they don't have a lot of games between them. The front row, Sam Talakai's got loads of experience elsewhere, but has only been at Glasgow a wee while. And then Gregor Hiddleston's in great form. And again, Jamie Batty's, was brilliant last week and has been about and been through these experiences. So it's a really...
And I love that because, like, when we were chatting, we were talking about the inexperience in the Glasgow pack. But if you look at that 23,
yeah,
Batty has been round the block, Talakai has been, Venter's a player. Rory Darge, all right, he's young, but he's been Scotland captain.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about experiences here, Duncan Weir has seen everything. I think he survived the Second World War. Kyle Rowe has been away and done other things. Stafford's been captain. Sione is Sione. Dobie's Scotland International. Josh Mackay's been... And then you've got a bench of Johnny Matthews, Roy Sutherland, Scott Cummings, Matt, George Horn, Tom Jordan. Like, there's so much experience there in a team that's not their strongest.
Yeah, and it's that... The thing that's always impresses me with Franco is the blend of that experience and then getting the young guys in, and then actually how you go about, whether he makes changes early and brings a lot of the Scotland guys off the bench, or does he leave somebody like a Jack Mann, till 65, 70 minutes. It's always that. I think Franco's a fascinating coach, but he always seems to, inevitably there's one or two he'll get wrong, but invariably he seems to get it pretty close to nailed on.
I think we likes of Jack Mann with my coaches snood on my head. Like, let Jack Mann play 80.
Yeah.
And take Venter off and put Fagerson on. Second row will be interesting to see who makes way. I'm intrigued to see what he does with Angus Fraser on the bench. Or does Johnny not get on?
And this is it. Again, you look at that and say, well, one of them, for example, you could put Johnny Matthews on at hooker, and then you could, in theory, hold Matt Fagerson back, depending on which back row player you want to take off and how you're going to make. Because you could put Angus Fraser on for Rory Darge, but you might want Matt Fagerson.
How good would it be for Angus Fraser to come off the bench at the same time as Suz and Zander?
Totally, and that's it. And then you say, okay, well, Johnny Matthews he possibly comes on and they do a reshuffle. There's so many options.
I think Johnny Matthews is there to go on for Donkey Weir. That's how good Johnny Matthews is.
And kick the winning drop goal.
Aye. Johnny just slips back in the pocket. George Horn sticks it back to him and he nails it. Finger in the air. See you later. Donkey Ferguson celebration in the corner. He's all over.
That's no assuming that George Horn doesn't come on, score a hat-trick and it's going to be a good weekend.
It's cool. There's a lot to get excited about, and it's nice to be talking about so many players in the mix as we look a wee bit further ahead to 1872, Six Nations, and to be talking about young players and not be talking about young players wondering what they're going to do. They're being given a shot to have a crack at something. I think it's a positive weekend to have 3 Scottish teams out playing. I think that's a really good thing.
Totally agree. And there's obviously a 20s game, which is kind of a development game behind closed doors in Wales. There's an under-20s international at the Hive next weekend. Look, what's encouraging is out of the people, the mess that was Super 6. People have their own opinions, but I think fundamentally it was a mess. We seem to have already kind of managed to find ways of getting most of that top crop of academy guys and young players a meaningful game in its place. I think
it's the easy thing to moan about, and whether you're one of the most invested Scottish rugby supporters or you're not, everybody's able to say there's not enough games for boys to play. You didn't get a good rugby player in a gym. Now it's easier to go, well, there's A games, there's Emerging Scotland games, there's 20s development games. There's probably more professionals playing this weekend than any other weekend because some of the 20s boys will be on academy contracts.
Yeah.
The Emerging Scotland team, Glasgow and Edinburgh, have both got fixtures. There's probably more professional players playing this weekend than at any other point in Scottish rugby history.
Yeah, and that's
a lie. Back to the days of 4 districts.
Yeah,
but
totally,
in recent history, there will be more professionals playing this weekend than any other weekend. That has to be a good thing.
Couldn't agree more. You summed it up brilliantly. Again.
Oh, wow!
2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks. Did I do something good last week?
Yeah, you summed something up again.
Did I?
Sort of succinctly said something that you could have said.
Was it that George Horn's the best player in the world?
Probably not, because I think you've saved all
Johnny
that.
Matthews is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's a toss-up. If it'd be a tough coin, George Horn or Johnny Matthews. And we're getting close to Dodade, my man. We're getting close. Got my snood on. I've tried to go for a run. It's not lasted long. I've stopped telling my daughters I'm away for a quick run because obviously it's not quick. It's just short. So I have to be more precise. I'm not away for a quick run, girls. I'm away for a short run. I think I was back before the adverts were finished the other night.
Well, look, good on you. Aye.
But on the positive side, I've stopped going and putting the kettle on and having a caramel wafer. I've gone for a run, so that has to be a good thing.
Look, anything you can do is better than joining me on the sofa with a caramel wafer.
Other biscuits are available, and we are open to sponsorship and bribery. Big fella, great to see you. Enjoy your afternoon. I'll catch you at the Hive later on. It's time to get noisy. Hopefully there's a big crowd there and we can have a decent send-off into 1872 and then Christmas time. Yeah,
look forward to it. I'll see you later on.
Cheers, my man. Look after yourself. Please subscribe, do all that stuff that's scrolling along the bottom. Get involved. There's a deal on £4 for 4 months. You can buy an annual subscription as well, but you get all the good stuff through my man Gavin. You get to listen to this stuff too. If you're at the Hive later on, come and say hello. And if you're not, listen out for me on the TV. Speak to you all soon.